and I will use souffle in canary, cherry pie, pumpkin, and igloo. This whole concept of the leaf canes is based on my Coleus leaf, and I will put a link both in the video description and in the cards here. And remember, I showed you before this way of doing a Skinner blend, that I find it more convenient for myself, at least. You don't have to do it this way. But I am placing a little bit of white between the two colors because I want a mild transition between them. Now remember, for my Coleus type cane, you have to have 2 jelly rolls with the color that is in the middle identical, and only the wrapping different. I kept a little bit of each of the Skinner blends to create a flattened Skinner blend, because I will use both the distorted ends of the jelly rolls and that flattened Skinner blend to make inclusions in the leaves. And here you can see how I'm going to create, and I will show you the full process on the red leaf cane. Ideally, and let me tell you a little bit about the whole concept. The Vogue magazine, one of the latest issues of Vogue magazine, the one that treats about summer trends, came up with the concept of leafy is the new floral. The thing is that, yeah, it is leafy. The leaves are fairly stylized, and also they have to bring in mind tropical leaves. You know how a lot of the tropical plants, they actually have, they almost look like flowers. They have so many beautiful colors. So this is exactly what I am trying to achieve here. And the other thing, this trend with the leafy is the new floral goes with a type of outfits that are somewhere in between safari and cruise. So this gave me the idea of this necklace that looks, I don't know, it's up to you to decide if you want it to look like fabric or like patterned and stitched leather. But getting back to our cane, you can see that I'm cutting each of the jelly rolls in 6. And one of the 6 ones, I'm going to cut it in half, because when you place them like this, you'll have the ends will not match properly. So place just one of the halves on the ends, so you will have a perfectly rectangular type thing. And then all you have to do is to prepare your inclusions, have them ready. You saw how I placed some of the ends of the jelly rolls, and I'm going to place them pretty much in between those segments of the jelly rolls that I have cut, to create a better, if you want, pattern on the leaves themselves. So essentially these canes are trying to imitate, up to you, croton plants or caladiums. Both these plants have very, very colorful foliage with a lot of patterns and a lot of gradients and a lot of combinations. They are all gorgeous. And you don't have to use these exact colors. Just search, do a Google image search on croton, C-R-O-T-O-N, and you will see all those beautiful combinations. And essentially you use, for the inside of the leaf, like here I will be using the pumpkin for the stem, the central stem. So you can replace that pumpkin with jungle green, for example. Just the whole idea is just to make sure that in your jelly rolls, the center of each of the jelly rolls, when you combine two jelly rolls, the center has to be the same color. So if you want to go, for example, with a croton leaf, imitating a croton leaf that would have jungle green in the middle and then would have orange on the edge, then simply go with canary, you know, and for example a jade or something, or you can go with Premo, sunshine, and jungle green for one, and then for the second one use in souffle use the pumpkin and canary, and in Premo you can use the orange with a dash of burnt umber, just to kind of calm it down because it's a little bit too flashy. And for the other one you can use jungle and sunshine, so orange and sunshine and jungle and sunshine. But as I said, you can make these leaves all the colors in the world that you want. Just look at those croton plant images and you can come up with your own color combinations. And I decided to put them on white because that enhances the look of fabric or patterned leather. The necklace itself has the look more of a scarf if you want, but that's why I thought it's a little bit more unusual, but very pretty. So it is reminiscing of a cruise or on a beach or anything, and because it's polymer clay, obviously you can wear it on the beach and it will not get damaged by the sun or by the waves. But getting back to our leaf cane, you see that I have placed my inclusions in between the little segments, and now I will be putting a little bit of Mantilla Black alcohol ink on the red part, and that is because I want an extra hint of pattern, of interest if you want there, and let it dry properly after you place it. So once your ink is dry, reduce the cane some more. And what you're trying to do is to flatten it enough that it can get cut into, to actually form the leaf itself. And don't worry about those little spots of ink too much, it will be fine. But what you need to worry about is to get it flat enough that it can be cut into in length, so we can put together the two halves and form the leaf itself. So get rid of the deformed ends, and then cut it in two. Now when you're placing it, when you will be placing it together, you need obviously a little bit of a longer leaf than what we just had, so and your pattern to be way more refined and intricate, and smaller, of course. So you can do what I just did if you want the pattern to be more intricate, and that is just put them end to end and then flatten it one more time so you can cut it in length again. And now we can put our leaf together. And I'm sorry, I meant to say in the beginning that I used the red in the middle, not the pumpkin, because that was the whole idea of the manzanilla black ink, to enhance the central stem of the leaf. Then gently on one end, bring the ends, pinch them together, and on the other end, very, very gently bring them together, but they need to be a little bit more flattened out than on the tip of the leaf. You see how on one end it is more flattened when you pinch them together. I don't know how to explain it otherwise. In order to reduce a cane that has this shape, the best thing to do is to pinch the ends and push them in, and don't let the ends start pulling and pushing out. And as on all the other canes, you will have to pull a little bit on the edges themselves. So pinch and push in the ends, and then press on the central part of the leaf. And you see how I'm placing one of the sides of the lozenge, because it's pretty much a lozenge cane, on the table, and then I am flattening by pinching and pushing on the other three sides. For the second leaf cane, I am actually using igloo, sea glass, and robin's egg. And notice here how I have placed an extra igloo on the robin's egg and white Skinner blend, and an extra robin's egg on the sea glass and white Skinner blend. This is to obtain a little bit more refinement to the cane, but the center of my jelly roll will still be white on both jelly rolls. So just create your jelly roll normally, and again, you don't have to make it this way. You can just do it the classic way with triangles if you want. And I'm going to place a little bit of purple on the jelly roll that has, on the Skinner blend that has the robin's egg, but I placed a few drops of purple alcohol ink just at the very, very end. And I'm going to do this cane a little bit different. That is, I am placing an extra layer of the sea glass at the very bottom, just at the very bottom. And if you noticed, I brought the end up a little bit, different than on the red and orange leaf cane. It makes this specific cane look more feathery, but hey, we are talking stylized leaves, and remember what I was telling you about the cane leaves and feather leaves, that you just dub them. I dub you feather or I dub you cane when we are talking about stylized stuff. But yeah, I am going to reduce about 3 different sizes of each of the canes, 3 to 4, just to be able to make a nice combination. Now I'm going to measure some white on the thickest setting, and this is just plain Premo, it's not souffle, and figure out about how much you need on your blank. You can find this specific blank in my Amazon influencer store. It's the same blank that I used for May's sponsors rewards on the faux Peter site and faux silver necklace. But I love these. I have several blanks for necklaces, and I find them exceptionally useful because you don't really need a template for them, and they bake beautifully, absolutely beautifully. Now let's start cutting slices of the canes and placing them on the white. And remember that towards the ends of the white, the template gets thinner, it wedges out. Of course, you can use a template, a regular template like Tiny Pandora's or whatever other bib necklace template you have to do this. It's just a matter of whatever you have around, and you can make a necklace like this. But cutting out slices, you have to cut them fairly small, thin that is. And as I said, have several sizes of the leaf canes handy, so you can make different leafy arrangements. Because again, leafy is the new floral. And yeah, because I had let some of the cane too big and it wouldn't fit on the white and on the necklace. But essentially try to cut your slices about, ideally it's 0.5 millimeter, but even up to 1 millimeter it would still be okay. And if you are a newer subscriber, I will also post in the video description the blade that I am using is a blade that I have discovered on Amazon that is absolutely fabulous to slice canes with. It's exceptionally sharp and very, very thin, so it makes slicing delicate slices of cane very easy. And I told Trish from PolyClay about it because I had to wait like 6 weeks to get it from China, and she was actually able to bring it, so you can find it in the PolyClay store. As I said, I will put this link in the description. But the subscribers who have been with me from the beginning know how many issues I had when it was about slicing canes or doing shaving mica shift or hidden magic or whatever, just because my hands are so bad. Well, these blades made a world of difference just because they are so thin and so sharp and so awesome. So you see, I have placed some of my red and pumpkin leaf slices, and I will combine them with a bluish feathery leaf. And once again, you can use whatever leaves you want. There are quite a few. If you are a beginner and it's harder for you to do this type of cane, check on my website, and I have actually made public some of my beginner tutorials, and I know that I have several simple leaf canes, so you can use that as well if you want to be with the trend. And of course, if you want to make a different necklace, you can use whatever flower canes you want. But again, I made this necklace following the Vogue trend. I will put a link in the description. It is true that in the excerpt that is online, you do not see the whole thing, just a few ideas and a few photos, but you'll still be able to see what the whole trend is about. If you want the whole thing, you'll have to buy the magazine. And no, I'm not trying to put myself, oh my god, I have a subscription to Vogue. No, I guess that my spine doctor's wife must have a subscription to it, because as I go there monthly, I can read it. But yeah, I am subscribed to quite a few websites with fashion trends and everything, but no, not to Vogue. I cannot afford Vogue, but I still keep up with the trends. You cannot not keep up with the trends and not do a lot of research if you want to do successful jewelry design and be able to sell your product. So as I kept you entertained while I was placing my little slices, now comes the very, 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 very important part. You need to burnish those slices in. And every time this subject comes up, I cannot stress enough how important it is to burnish your applied cane slices in the background. I generally try to avoid to roll much with the roller over them, so I wouldn't get too much distortion. I would use a lot of times my acrylic block, and you will see that a lot in towards the end of the video when I make the extra element on the necklace. But see, get your acrylic block and go with fine rotating moves, because what you're trying to do is to practically push the slices in the background clay. You're not trying to stretch them to get thinner. You need to burnish them in. And if you look at the polymer clay artists that are famous for their cane jewelry, you will see how perfect their pieces look just because of this extreme burnishing. It takes a while. You have to be very, very patient, but if you want your piece to be of good quality, you need, this will be the longest part of creating your piece. You have to be patient and keep burnishing until you get a perfectly a smooth surface. And here I have to be especially careful because I do not intend to sand the piece. When you can sand the piece, yeah, you can get more smoothness with the sandpaper, but as I'm going to apply a fabric texture on it, I need my cane slices to be perfectly burnished in the background clay. Then simply manipulate your strip of clay to arrange it properly on the baking blank. And what I was telling you why I love these blanks, because it is so easy to place the clay on them and then to get rid of the excess, and they are easy to trim, they are easy to smooth, they are easy to everything pretty much. Yes, I am using that little hollow roller that Trish had sent me. That's supposed to be a traveling roller. If you go anywhere, you're supposed to store your blades and tools inside. And why I love it is because it's so light. It's not heavy like the other rollers, and that's a big plus on my hands. So yeah, after you smooth out the clay sheet, and be very careful not to trap air pockets, then simply trim the excess, and you can see that I'm very, very careful to have my clay perfectly smooth on the baking blank. Sorry if I'm a little bit off camera there, but it's a fairly big piece, so it's kind of hard to have everything in the camera and have you have a good view of what I'm doing. But anyway, this is pretty much how you flatten the clay to get a perfectly smooth surface. And then you see, using the roller on the edges, simply gets rid of the excess, because it just falls out pretty much. And you can use a larger roller or a smaller roller. To be honest, I found that the tiny Pandora's cane benders, you know, the round ones, make absolutely awesome thin rollers for whenever you need to finish something that is smaller and in smaller areas. But yeah, and as you know, I also have my blue paintbrush handle that I use. So I did not cut in this video because I wanted to show you the full process. Even if normally I try to keep my videos at about 15-20 minutes, at most a half an hour, I was asked by some of my subscribers to actually show as much of the whole process as I can. Yes, I did speed it up because I don't want to be here for a couple hours, but I'm trying to show you how much exactly I work on getting a piece nice and smooth. Now I'm using this gauze, but you can use cheesecloth, works just fine. I just happen to have this around the house, and it is absolutely fabulous for doing a delicate fabric pattern. You saw me using it in the faux Navajo, in the Navajo faux fabric and faux leather cuff. I will link that in the cards. But yes, it does leave beautiful thread patterns in the clay, and it will give you the feeling that it is actual fabric that you have there. For thicker, of course, for thicker fabric imitations, you can use, for example, burlap fabric. That would work too. But there we go. This is how it looks like, and I will get a close-up. See, it looks fabricy, and we have our, and yeah, you'll have to trim it one more time after you apply the texture on it, because obviously it will soften and stretch the clay. Now for the back, I am going to use the exact same technique as for the front, and this is of course after you bake the front for half an hour. The only thing that will be different is that I'm going to place very tiny pieces, slices of cane. So here I wanted to show you how you can, by using the same method of pinching and pushing in, how you can reduce those leaf canes to very, very small sizes. And I'm not going to show the whole backing thing because it's exactly like the front. You know, you just place baking bond and put it on and bake it. I've shown you many times. But let's get on to the extra element that I am adding on the necklace, because I want it to look like it's knotted fabric, if you want. So I am going to make a splash, a separate splash, and I am going to use on it the mostly slices of the larger cane and just a few of the medium-sized cane. And think about it being just the ends of a scarf that you knot around your neck, and you catch the knot with a ring, with a scarf ring. So again, place your leaf slices. A thing that we will cut excuse me, we will cut this to look exactly like the ends of a scarf. but once again it will be very, very important to burnish properly. Excuse me, I have a lot of allergies. So we are going again with the burnishing thing, and here you see I'm using essentially the acrylic block, and I'm pushing those slices in the background clay. I have used, this time the clay is on the 4th thickest setting, because I need this sheet to be a little bit thinner and more pliable as I am going to fold it. But once again, you have to have that sheet perfectly smooth, because we are not going to use any kind of sanding on it. And yes, that's the white Premo that is so stretchy. Release it from the working tile from time to time to give the clay room to expand, and then you can get it through the pasta machine just once. Then use again your fabric to make some texture on it. And it is all nice and pretty. And then we will also need the ring. For this I am taking some cherry pie, and it's on the thickest setting, and you see I'm stacking it 3 times, and I'm going to flatten it some. And I will be using these square hot fix rhinestones, and I got these on eBay, Amazon, I forgot. I will look, and you'll get the link in the video description, no problem. But make sure that they are well aligned, and then use your acrylic block to push them in, and then the some cling wrap to do nice and smooth cuts if the cling wrap wants to sit still, because you want it to be gently rounded. And then in order to bake it, you will need a folded sheet of aluminum foil that you can shape on a pencil, pretty much. And shape your ring with the aluminum foil on the pencil, because if you try without the pencil, that aluminum foil will collapse. But gently, gently fold it around it, and then you bake it without the pencil, of course. Now that we have everything baked and everything is fabricy looking, let's go ahead and place our extra trendy element on the necklace. Yes, I know it's not shiny, it's not intended to be shiny. It would be against the whole fashion trend. You'll see when you click on the link in the video description what I'm talking about. It's, as I said, something more cruise-like, more safari-like, more, you know. And I will use some cling wrap to have nice and smooth cut edges, including for what I'm going to cut with the X-Acto knife. And do 2 corners. Those would be the corners of your scarf, pretty much. And the other thing that you want to do on here is to imitate stitches. And for this I am using my gum massager thing. I find it that it leaves much better, see, than with the needle tool. Yeah, you can poke holes, but it doesn't look as good. If you have a gum massager tool, that would be much better. And poke holes about 1.5 millimeters from the edge, and about 1.5 millimeters to 2 millimeters distance. And then with your needle, trace a very, very, very thin line uniting these holes. I will be focusing the camera here in a second. There you go. To imitate a thread. So this will look like stitching. Don't go too deep with the needle. You just need to leave a faint line uniting those holes you made. Then once we do that, it's time to put it together, to place it on our necklace. And of course we will need to use some Bacon Bond, and we'll have to place it on the back as well. But fold about where you will be placing your ring very gently. I'll get in the camera here in a second. And yes, place some Bacon Bond on the back of the ring. You absolutely need to place Bacon Bond on the back of the ring. There you go. And this is how you want the end of your added element to look like. And then use some Bacon Bond both on the front and on the back of the necklace, and smudge it really good because you want that piece to stick there properly. Yes, it will cover some of your leaves, so what? That's what happens when you put a scarf on and you knot it. It will cover some of the pattern. And then place it so that the ring will be pretty much towards the bottom edge of the necklace, and then gently trim the back. And you want, again, you want to fold, to imitate the folds on the top, on the inner part of the necklace. Nicely trim the, if you have any extra there. Yeah, I know, you'll say, why did you do all that stitching? Well, I have no idea. But yeah, and, when you bake it, make sure that you prop it a little bit up, because you want those corners of a scarf to be sitting properly on your chest. And bake it for 40 minutes. And now let's start putting it together. I'm going to use 2 pinch bails. Now remember that I love the pinch bails because I don't have to do a lot of problems. And somebody asked me before, do you have to poke holes? Not necessarily. And here I will not poke holes. I will just place my pinch bails, and then very gently and slow I will use my pliers to push them in the clay. But I find that they give a much nicer and elegant look. That's why I love my pinch bails. And yes, I know the necklace is not very stiff. If you want it stiffer, of course, you can use your sheets. You can make them thicker, but essentially, yeah, just place the, put some chain. I place some agate beads and a magnetic clasp, and there you go. Happy claying.